So educated, you must have some masters.
What? Here.
He's gonna put it on the table, crush that thing
I
up and
feel good. High, pass, and roll. Hearts. Hearts. There. My slaves, hard at work, are hardly working. Ha, ha, ha. Today we will be having fun. Fun is so nice. Don't you want fun? I want fun. I don't know what to do. Black. Wait, no. Horror stories. Black web.
Tucked nicely.
I stared at my break. Number 15. The hacker. When you venture into the deep end of the deep web, you run into many mysterious individuals. Oftentimes, they're tech-savvy and well-versed in hacking. Redditor Gerard 1995 noted that there are some folks on the dark web that you shouldn't cross, and in his own words, this is one of them. The dude who can hack you and put horrible things on your computer so you can go to prison, he writes. I wouldn't annoy that dude. Of course, this isn't an isolated issue. I mean, there's not just one lone hacker that can do this, but many. Others in the thread note that this happens all the time. Lemon Kanan PL wrote that it happened in his hometown to several elderly people. Their computers were hacked, vile stuff was planted, and then they were forced into giving the hacker money, or else the implanted files wouldn't be removed. It was happening so often that they had to put out a notice letting the community know of the epidemic, and that if anyone had this happen to them, they should report it, no matter how it might look bad on them. As Redditor, why am I still online, puts it, this is the kind of stuff that makes you second guess making a playful jab at someone on the internet.
I only have 5
Number
likes
14.
total, and I've
A
already
picture is
used
worth
3.
1,000 words. How would you feel if you went out to dinner one night at your local Five Guys, and when you returned home and fired up your computer, you found a photo of yourself on the screen? I think I'd be itching all over with paranoia. That's what happened to Redditor Kletch when he was browsing Tor. As he succinctly explained, he was on Tor, then went to Five Guys to eat. When he returned home, he got on Tor again and discovered a photo of him from earlier that night at that very restaurant. Was someone stalking him? Who? How did they know he was on the deep web in the first place? How did they know he was going to Five Guys? There are too many questions to unload here and not enough answers. Don't worry though, Reddit has plenty of theories. Or as another Redditor, Fooa thought this Redditor was about to lose his life. At least this life-taking attempt didn't succeed, but he did manage to creep out Kletch and all the rest of us in the process. Number 13. Military surplus site. Anyone who surfs the web knows that the surface can be scary enough. So what happens when you dive deeper? Redditor Blast338 wrote about his experience on the dark web saying, found a military surplus site once. This site sold all the equipment the actual military would have. For a few weeks I was worried that someone was going to knock on my door and start asking questions. Others on the thread noted that often the ammo is considered against the law to sell, while the firearm isn't. But when it comes to the ammo, you may be looking at legality issues. As we run through this list, you'll find there are a lot more of those on the deep web. Number 12. Dark web scavenger hunt. Mystery, intrigue, some scary deep web stories actually end up being worthwhile. Redditor Minty Truffle wrote of his experience on the deep net saying, I was part of the no-love deep web alternative reality game, where we had to do a deep net scavenger hunt, which accumulated in me driving to New York to answer a payphone at 3 a.m. Redditors responded with many theories and questions.
What's stopping us from
obliged,
going to
detailing what the
space?
scavenger hunt entailed.
We could do so much with
Redditors
this
said that a
power.
cryptic image was uploaded
But
to
we have to be
4chan with a
careful
hex
with it.
code in it, which led to a Tor
This
site
looks
download.
like a good starter.
After freaking
Corruption.
out a bit, one user opened the download, which had nothing
Remember,
but more
this
codes.
thing is
Users
powerful.
then searched the deep net
If
and
I
actually
leave
found
it on for too
YouTube
long, or if
videos,
I
one
leave
of
it
which had a
unattended, it could
payphone.
take control
They located
of
the payphone,
everything.
and one of the game's informants
But
told
I do not
users to
plan for
answer
that to
the phone
happen.
at 3
Someone will
a.m. on
always
a
be
specific
watching.
date. When the Redditor arrived along with 4
I'm gonna have
others,
to hire some
they
help.
received
This
the
is not
next
gonna
clue
be
when the phone rang.
able
It
to
took
control
them 2
myself
blocks
by
away to
having
an empty
one.
theater.
I don't
After
have
searching it, they discovered that the
PS4
clue led
Live or
nowhere,
whatever it's
and
called,
the
PS
archive
Plus or
remains
whatever.
uncracked.
So I can't hire
Redditor
help for
Alex
that one.
Katsuni said,
But
"This
I
actually
could
sounds fun,
hire
maybe
a
scary,
mob.
I'm not quite sure. Fun or scary, what do you
Iron
think?"
Golem.
Number 11, We See You.
But at the same
Redditor
time,
Fake
is it
Fakington has a
reckless to
scary
take
deep web
the
story that will
only,
prompt
the
you to
one and
look over
only
your shoulder.
from the
The
base?
Redditor says that one day he was browsing
Probably
sites,
reckless,
blogs, and
but who cares?
GeoCity sites
Where
when
are
he came
my
across a strange but
leaves?
well-designed
My
page that looked
leaves.
like a conglomeration of random thoughts from various people. What were the thoughts?
Let's just
The
take one
Redditor
out because
believes
we
they were
only need
cryptic
one.
messages, and
Let's
upon
see, are
further
you still
investigation,
angry at me?
he found a number of IP addresses
Hello.
hidden away in the JavaScript comments. The
Okay, he's kinda
IPs led to
scared.
university banner messages that warned that he was entering a secure system, others to servers with next to nothing on them, and lastly to a web server that had a large directory of files and images, which seemed to be mental health professionals, military, and medical records.
You are
Well, this was
terrifying.
curious, more than creepy. The worst was yet to come. In the
And bam.
Baking with pure
You
water
will
is
take
a
control
great taste.
of this village until I can take control again. But I'm scared for my villagers, and you are barely even watching this thing.
In the Redditor's own words, as I browsed from a subdirectory back to the parent, at the top was a new HTML file named something like
What do you think, Mr. Bell? I'm talking to you.
.html.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Please, I don't want to kill
I
you!
opened it, and in plain text was the message, "We see you."
Don't get any
The server
closer.
dropped 15
I'm
seconds
warning
later,
you.
as I'm
If
sure
you
the
want to
Redditor's
live, you'll
heart
stay
dropped
back.
with it. Number 10, Human Experiment Journals. One anonymous user shared
Fight
his
me!
secondhand experience with the deep web. He
Run
wrote,
away from me.
"Something that really stuck
I don't
with
want to
me
hurt
and
you.
disturbed me was these human experiment journals, which documented human experimentation on homeless or taken
How will I
individuals."
stop
Another
fire spread
anonymous
now?
Redditor wrote that while he understands the
Stop.
skepticism about deep web stories, they
Hey,
shouldn't be
hey,
dismissed outright.
buddy,
Because
buddy,
some of them
pal.
are true.
Oh
He
god.
points to the one that was featured on 60 Minutes as an example.
Oh god.
The culprit had done some truly evil things, which he videotaped and then posted on the deep web. This just goes to show that some of the most depraved and outrageous things really do occur.
At the same time, he's so
And
goddamn
human
terrifying.
experiment journals may
Put
truly
him back
be
in
one of
there,
them.
but that wouldn't be
Number 9,
safe.
I know who you are. Seeing a photo of yourself is one thing, but when someone online knows your name, Redditor Big Wise Guy 55 was navigating the deep web when he commented on a video as you do. He returned to the page later to rewatch the video, and there was a reply to his comment. "That is very astute of you, Mr. Insert real last name." The Redditor said he didn't use the internet for a week after that, as his last name is uncommon. How could someone in the scene of anonymity know his name? That's what one Redditor asked. He got some knowledgeable answers from many on the thread. Beast noted it's pretty easy to find someone's identity on the internet, even on the deep web. Another Redditor, Raincoats George, commented that people are lazy online, using the same usernames and passwords on numerous accounts, and that information is often available and easy to find. The point is, anyone and everyone is vulnerable to this type of sleuthing. Just hope that you won't be next. Number 8, I Spy. The following creepy deep web story was shared by an anonymous Redditor. The worst that happened is I went on a sketchy website, then someone started accessing my camera. However, the Redditor's camera was already broken. This story is to
legs.
give others in the thread the creeps. Walker
Salt
2642
isn't in
chimed
the
in
game.
saying,
How
"Whenever
is
I'm
it?
using my
Corruption
computer, I
was
feel
able
like
to
my camera
go
is
through.
recording me. Even though it's blocked with a rubber cap,
I'll
it's
have
not
to
recording."
research it.
Other Redditors said that feeling
I'll
as
have
though
to
you're being
research it,
watched is
but
not unusual.
for
Some
now,
people even
all
let
I
it take
know
over their
is that we
lives.
are in deep
One
trouble
anonymous
if
Redditor said that he constantly
my
felt as
thoughts are
though there were
correct. It
cameras
can't
on
be.
him, even
It's
in
just
the
a
vents of his
game.
house, and the
We
paranoia
must fix
made
up this
him act
music
differently.
this fast.
Stubbs94 said he
I'm
really
putting
did have
everything
someone
in here.
watching his every move
I'm
in a
just going
previous
to
job.
sit
His
back for a
employers
little.
would watch their staff remotely and then ding him on stuff. The experience made him paranoid, as it probably would anyone. One anonymous Redditor gave some valuable advice. Speaking to someone about the feeling can help, like a professional therapist. The worst thing is, you never know if you're being paranoid or whether someone actually might be spying on you, as this Redditor discovered. Number 7. Caught in the act.
Thank you.
Owen Johnston had an episode on one site,
workers.
which will make you avoid it by any means. He still isn't completely sure how the individual managed to do what he did.
What that
What did
is
he
for
do?
now.
In the Redditor's
I will
own
use
words,
this simple
I
flower.
was buying
Because
some,
this thing isn't
in
that strong yet, and
quotations,
the corruption,
clothing
it
off
only
the
thinks
deep
it
web
corrupted
for a
a very
while,
little building.
and one day
So it
received
doesn't
an
have
inbox
much
on my
power
personal
or
Twitter
confidence
account.
to take over
The
anything.
person talked about
Do
how
you hear
I was
me?
an amateur and obviously
Yes, sir.
didn't protect my
Yeah, if
identity
you'd even
enough,
think
and that they would
about
report me to the
escaping
police
and
with
becoming
information
something
about
worse,
the
I
clothing
will
I
burn
was
you to the
buying.
ground.
What happened
Yes,
when
sir.
the Redditor
Can I ask a
said
question?
he'd call their bluff?
Fine, but
The
if it's
person
anything about
chimed
those
back,
schools, you'll
"What
die.
would insert mom and dad's name say about this, or your teachers from insert school name say?"
Is the
The man,
bathroom?
of course, wanted
Bathroom!
money in exchange for his silence. And
You're
what could
going
the
into
Redditor
timeout.
do?
Please
All this
no.
personal info was in the palm of this man's hands. On top of that, he believed his Tor
If you keep
browser had
arguing,
been
I'll burn you.
compromised.
Please
After
don't do
thinking
that
about it
either.
for a while, though, he wondered if the man had simply
You
seen
don't
the
demand
Redditor's personal
anything
Twitter
for me
account
to do.
follow another
Look how
account
weak you
titled
are.
"Is Silk Road Up and Running?"
Are
and
you
then
okay,
made
sir?
an assumption and
Of
searched for
course I'm
personal
okay.
info connected to the
What,
account.
you think I'm weak?
He decided
No,
this
no,
is what
sir.
had happened. So
That's what
instead
I
of
thought.
sending money, he simply blocked the account and walked away. Luckily, he
This
seemed to
flower
be
will keep you
right.
under
At
control
least
until I
nothing
come
further
back.
has
Where are you
happened.
going, sir?
Which leads
None
us
of
to
your
wonder,
goddamn
was he
business.
right
Now
about
is
his
it?
tactic? Or
So
could his
weak,
Tor
I
browser
barely
be
feel
compromised
this
to
power
this
radiating from
day?
front.
Number 6.
I can barely
Middle of
even
nowhere.
think.
Sometimes those who
Look.
venture into the deep web might find
Just
something dark
stay,
and disturbing
okay?
that they don't know how to handle, especially
These
when the
flowers
venturer
shall
is young and
protect
unsure.
this entire village
Redditor
while I'm
Maple
gone.
Russian was only 12 or so when he
You
first
better
navigated the
stay
deep
out
web.
of trouble while
He
I'm gone.
writes, "I found a guy who lived in a house in the middle of nowhere,
Even
who
more
had his
protecting
sister
ain't
locked
that
up
bad.
in his house and would rent her out to people. I noped out of there pretty fast." When Redditors hopped on the thread, wondering why the Redditor didn't contact authorities about this
More
creep,
protection.
as
It's
he
always
explained
helpful.
he didn't know who to tell, and that he was told that the dark net was untraceable. He also felt uncomfortable explaining what he'd seen to his parents, and so, as he said, noped right out of there and deleted the browser. Some also wondered why the feds weren't able to sting these sorts of creeps. Firefly KOS noted it was because these sorts of creeps plan meticulously and mask everything. They share locations and other details of their actions with only people they trust, not with the public. Others noted, however, that the feds are often involved in sting operations
Might as
and bait
well
and
grab
switch
these for
schemes on
more
the dark web.
protection
So
once
who
we get
knows
back
what might
to
have
the
happened had
base.
the Redditor or someone else surfing the deep web reported
There.
it. And maybe someone
But
did.
corruption should
One
be
Redditor,
very,
your child,
very
pointed
low right
out
now, and if
that
it's
whether
not,
or not
it's
a
gone
deep
by
web
now.
post looks fishy
Okay.
or fake,
Ow,
this
no, my
one
mind's
was
still
worth
playing tricks.
reporting. The Redditor said that law enforcement agencies sometimes
Selling
post
the
photos
car.
of objects
Okay, yes, the
or other
corruption
items of
is
interest in places
semi-gone.
like
It
r/what
will
is
come
this
back
thing,
instantly
to
once I
try and
get rid of
seek
these
any
flowers,
assistance in
but if I come around my
identifying stuff
base,
connected to
I'll
whatever
smell them,
cases they're
and
trying to
I'll
solve.
regain more
This
and
is how they
more
identify
of my
locations and
mind
build
back.
profiles. So any report is a worthy one. As I'm Your Child says, your piece might be one piece of a 10,000 piece puzzle, but every piece counts. Keep Keep that in mind, internet investigators and deep web divers, whenever you come across something of this nature. Number 5. The cloud. If you're not tech savvy, you likely don't have a clue about how the cloud works. Just like everyone in this entry, Redditor JRath describes a website he was once shown with hundreds of pages of 50 or so streams on each page. He describes it as the stream feed aggregation. What was on these streams? DIY in-home security systems backed up to the cloud, broadcasting everything going on inside private homes, while the homeowners were none the wiser. This revelation led some on the thread to wonder whether buying a security camera for their own home was the right way to go. JRath responded, I think on your local Wi-Fi would be okay, but it all boils down to one key thing. Know what you are doing with these devices before you deploy them. Others suggested that local Wi-Fi wasn't safe, or at least was vulnerable. And JRath backed that statement up, saying that some knowledge of networking is necessary in order to make cheap home security systems at all secure. Just a heads up to all those who have such a system installed in their own homes. Know what you're doing, or you may become another unknowing reality star in this swath of live streams. Number 4. Ripped off. As if the surface web isn't bad enough when it comes to rip-offs, the deep web is a haven for them.
These are cool, but
Your team can get more done by doing less, like
these
less
are
busy work, less
Lily
level
of the
setting,
Valleys,
less
but
moving
once
in
they're
and
done with their
circling
work.
back, with fewer bottlenecks and almost
See,
zero
that's why I
holding
like them.
patterns.
They
Find out
become
how
pink
at
instead of white.
asana.com. That's ASA.
Pink is the most important color in
Fox
this
Faxon shared
flower
his story
city.
of being ripped off
I
at
actually do
15
know what I'm
years
talking
old.
about.
At that age, he was
Because
looking
in
for
my
quick and
past
easy ways to
Minecraft
make
live, I was
money.
just a random
And
flower
in his own words,
who got
stumbled
picked up
upon
by
this
a girl
site owned
player.
by a Vietnamese guy that
It was
claimed
very
to offer
nice,
PayPal
but
transfers
eventually I
for a
had to
small
leave her.
fee. The
Like when I
Redditor
have to leave this
decided
wolf.
to give it a
See that wolf?
shot. With some safeguards in place, he sent the guy a
Maybe.
message over a temporary
More of
email,
these.
and the man
See,
responded with a
I knew the
deal,
corruption
saying
was
he'd take a
spreading, but not
$300
this
money
far.
order for 600 PayPal
How are
dollars.
you still alive? How have you not been killed by a wolf or anything? Wow. I kind of want to bring you back home, but
After 30
I need
minutes,
food.
there was still no money, and messages to the man went unanswered. Surprise, surprise. However, due to FizzFox Faxon's safeguard,
more of that can't hurt. I do need more pink for those the flags.
Don't lose yourself in these kinds of schemes.
If I can find more of that purple
Hard work
plant,
will
that'd
pay
be
off in
amazing,
the
but I
end.
can just be
And stay
creative,
away
but
from the dark web.
still.
Number 3.
Ooh,
Hitman.
I can't believe there's even more corruption.
Came across something not so
Continue
unusual
your
for
work,
the dark web.
courageous flower.
It's still quite scary. He and his friend were navigating the deep web when they came across a hitman for hire, only 10 grand a person.
God, no, wait, let
In
me
his
just double check.
words, you provide them with details of who it is,
That's
stating
not good.
no
I know
children or
pink
public
is supposed to be
figures,
good,
and how
but
long they have to do it.
like these are completed corruption. It's like the opposite of those Lily of the Valleys. These things need to be all orange.
As commenter Neutron Fish
Everything looks fine
stated,
here.
on
There should
the
be more
internet, the men
roses,
are men,
but
the women are men,
don't got
the
any,
kids
so
are
I can't
FBI
help with that
agents, and the
corruption.
hitmen are also FBI agents.
Still
In
very
other
worried
words, on
about
the
that
dark
place's
web, if
corruption.
you're doing bad things, you may just
there's
get
some
caught
roses.
after all.
We should take some.
Number
And
2,
plant some over
the
there
mask.
because I'm worried.
Redditor Cat 10 Back
There's no
just
flowers
tells it
around.
like it is.
Not that many flowers
This
around
story
here.
is both
So
visceral and
it
stomach
should
churning.
be safe
In
for a
his
little.
words, a friend
But we
of
might
mine
need to
went
come
digging
here in a day or two
and found
to
a
check
video of someone
that it's
taking
all
a
going
face
well.
from someone off his head and used
So
it as a
worried.
mask.
Also, let me
One
take a
Redditor,
couple of
Lost
you guys
Gunder,
because
said
you
that
guys
he
seem
watched a
very
video from
important
South
for my
America
research.
where the folks on it were doing the same thing. Even freakier, the people in the video were laughing. Redditor, to be read out loud, notes that the video described has a name, and it's apparently Funky Town. The song is played in the video's background. As the Redditor suggested, if you have any doubt at all about whether you could handle watching it, don't. Believe me, I won't. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills, and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way you'll be notified of the new video we upload every Tuesday.
These are just
Number 1.
corruption detector.
Confessions.
They'll change
What's
once
worse
they
than
detect
confessing
the
your
corruption.
misdeeds?
Or roses.
Confessing them on the dark
Just
web.
soldiers.
Redditor, every good UN was taken. Discovered a
Most
site that was
important
basically
are
nothing
the
more
pink.
than an internet confession board, on which
I forget
users
the name.
would confess some of their deepest, darkest thoughts or actions, most of which were benign and not
One is
anything
the most important
outrageous.
because it just
But
shows
weirder than the
life
confessors
is
was the
improving,
confessee.
corruption is
The
leaving,
Redditor's words.
and
It
so
wouldn't
the
be
sun is
so
also
bad if
leaving.
the
So I'm going to go
supposed
back
priest
home.
making judgment on the
And
confessors
we'll take a couple
was
of
an
you.
alleged divine robot.
Like I said,
who
nothing
was more than
important.
happy
Those are
to
basically
give
the
anathema
reproducers.
onto you.
Noxy Daisy's
Confessors seem to be
reproducers.
unworthy of forgiveness.
I might forget this stuff and change all this stuff because of the corruption in my mind, but
Well, the Redditor
that's just the
doesn't
general
elaborate
stuff.
about what those
I'm already
instructions
think
were,
I named
but
something
betting they were
different
far from
from
10
last
Hail
time
Marys
I
and an
talked
Our
about them.
Father. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy.
One and only corruption left in this world. Trust me. Reproducers, not the best sign. But hey, look, there's a couple flowers here.
I gripped the trigger of the plastic gun that was attached to the machine.
Already
No one paid any
listened to this.
attention to me. People were glued to other machines, and others were too busy in the
Ow. I think I haven't watched that one yet, so. Oh god, it's already dark. I have to go home before
It was late
all
at
of
night,
the corruption
and I was on my
control of
computer
mind.
thinking
The
about
full moon
the dark
will rise and
web.
I will change.
I had always been kind of a nerd about technology, cybersecurities, computers, and the way things just worked, which is why the dark web fascinated me. I've always heard rumors about other people's terrible experiences, but honestly, I didn't see what the big deal was. I knew the dark web was overrated because I've taught myself how to code and hack, so stuff like this was nothing to me. After a few days of learning about the dark web, I finally decided to try it out for the first time. I also had the right software downloaded so that I could hide my identity, so the government could not trace my location. All I had to do now was press enter on my keyboard to access the dark web market. I wanted to prove not only to my friends and family, but to myself that the dark web was not so terrible. So of course, I pressed enter. Immediately, the screen lit up in front of me, and within a couple of seconds, I was granted full access to the dark web market. My username was user499, and on the left side of the screen, I could see a list of categories. They sold weapons that weren't even available here in the United States, like grenades and RPGs. They also sold drugs and chemicals, Netflix accounts, fraudulent items, and the list goes on and on. I began to chuckle because this just seemed like a regular website to me, kind of like eBay, except you can buy a little bit more things than regular websites. People go on the dark web and immediately feel like a badass, but not me. Honestly, I started getting a little bored, so I decided to take it a step further and purchase something. So I picked my price range and clicked on the random button, which meant that I would purchase something completely random from a seller, and I would have the option of buying it or not. I chose to click random because I knew the sellers were lying. There's no way this website could sell almost anything. I mean, there's just no way. I could see from the screen the numbers were counting down, and in a few seconds, a random item would get sold to me. I waited and waited, and then there it was. The random item that appeared on my screen was a slave. I knew it was fake. How can you just sell a slave? That doesn't even make sense. But then again, it kind of was reasonable to assume. that they would sell slaves on the dark web market, considering how evil this world is, and the fact that many girls and boys go missing every year because of human trafficking. Even cults, people from other countries may find it useful to purchase slaves. Terrorists, all types of groups could purchase slaves of their own. Just thinking about all this made me feel sick, but my curiosity only grew more and more. There was a small message box down below, and I still wasn't impressed. The seller could have at least photoshopped the picture of the slave a little better. So I reached out to the seller and asked him, how do I know if this is real? I waited for his response, and then my phone began to vibrate, and the seller sent me a message saying, check your phone. So I looked at my phone, and I couldn't see anything. I mean, it was a video, but it was just blank, a blank screen. I wasn't surprised, so I contacted the seller once again and told him that I would pass up on the offer. Then my phone vibrates again. So I take another look, and I realize the video was 15 minutes long. So I skipped halfway through the video and pressed play, and as soon as the video started playing, I froze. Fear began to consume my body. I had to look at my phone 3 times to make sure that what I was seeing was real. I could hear my heart racing as my body became stiff. There was a man in the video, and the slave was right next to him, tied up, and he looked weak and tired. The guy in the video began to lift up his arm, and then it quickly became apparent to me that the man tied up was really a slave, and that this seller was legit about his deal. A picture popped up on the screen of a woman, and down below a message appears and says, for some extra cash, I will even throw in some prostitutes. If you don't believe me, I will send you more videos for your own pleasure. All I could see at this point were flashes of my future and where I would end up in the next couple of hours. I deleted any trace of the dark web on my computer, and from there on, I had never attempted to access the dark web ever again.
They look fine, I guess, but it must be safe. If this turns to orange, that means that those are fine.
He's a nice
If
guy.
it stays like this for a
nice.
very long time, or
Never
even
has
forever,
a bad word to say about
we have some trouble.
Always sees the best in people. He never fails to see things in a positive light, and has been a welcome fixture at every barbecue or block party we've ever thrown.
Until we figure out what's wrong,
this latest crisis has been pretty hard on Gary and his family. And over the past few weeks, I've noticed some pretty disturbing changes in his behavior. Changes that meant that Gary went from being the Ned Flanders personality clone we loved so much to being someone that I'm, quite frankly, terrified of. I remember when we first heard rumors
I
of
should
the
not
lockdown
plant
coming.
these. That will give me
Gary came over
false
to
hope.
talk about it.
But
He
we
was
shall
his usual jolly
keep
self, laughing off the scaremongering coming from the media. But as we talked
I
about
must
a shortage
quarantine
of food
myself.
and
I was
hand
able to take a
sanitizer becoming a
quarantine
reality,
machine
he grew unsettled in
earlier,
a way
but I
I'd
didn't
never
want to
really
show you
seen
guys
before.
because
Gary has 2
really
young
kind of
kids,
boring.
but he also has his elderly mother living with
And
him.
usually we
He
get
once
this
told
water
me he
fresh,
just
but this
didn't have
is
the heart to put her in a
Christian
home.
oil
That seemed way
water
too much
that
like
I had
abandoning
to
her.
go all the way
Gary
to,
was just that kind of guy.
I don't know,
At least he was that kind of guy.
5,000 blocks away over
I only
there or
really started
something.
noticing the change when he came home one day with a trunk loaded with
That's not what happened last
groceries.
time, but
Not just the trunk either. The back seat of his SUV was overloaded with paper grocery bags.
oh, I feel
Some were loaded with
fine.
meat
A
and
little bit
vegetables,
loopy.
some stacked entirely
Wait.
full of canned goods.
What's an idea?
But it was the box full of hand sanitizer that really made me take notice.
You keep the water
Gary was the polar
here,
opposite of a germaphobe. Like, polar opposite. He routinely ignored the 5-second rule when it came to barbecue items dropped into lawn grass, and was very much of the opinion that letting kids play outside, letting them eat a little dirt from time to time, was just good for their immune system. He had to make them tough in a way that playing with screens just wouldn't. We actually used to laugh at people who kept those little Purell bottles in hip holsters, overly paranoid losers who would drive their cars off a bridge if they really knew how many microorganisms lived in their eyelashes alone. But here Gary was, unloading an entire pallet of hand sanitizer from his truck. Got some to spare, huh, buddy? I shouted over from my porch. The prices I just paid, he replied.
Sorry guys, well I'm gonna go.
I know,
It was fun talking to you.